Okay, we'll give it another minute and then we'll get started. Hopefully it looks like the YouTube is functioning. Let me do it. Yeah, the YouTube's functioning. Let me just mute that so I don't hear myself. Okay.
Let me just open the YouTube and
Alright. So, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. And then basically anyone that kind of filters in will just, I guess, comment a little bit later. Deriva, you want to open this up then?
okie dokie. Well, welcome everybody to today's AMA, House in Winds AMA. Today we have Robert with us. Say hello.
Yay. Hi,
Yay!
I'm the project lead, and basically I'm a lead programmer at the same time. So generally, uh, yeah, just the main cat. Anyway, go.
Alright, well let's start this off with the first subject of a year coming to a close and what a year it has been. Do you want to? Let's first go over some of the features that have been introduced to the game and many of the changes that have come to the game over the year.
Okay. Um, so I mean, you figure this year has had its ups and downs. When it came down to ultimately stuff we were able to get in, the stuff that basically we had to revise or maybe pivot on. I mean, a lot of good things came this year in terms of basically we were able to get some better models in. We were able to redo the visuals. We were able to get access to Unreal Engine 5.0 came out this year. So we were able to kind of just, because I don't know if people remember from the old days, but we used to play the game, and you'd basically just look at like the view distance models. They looked terrible. It looked like a Nintendo 64 game when it came to like some of the building details and just the H-slots of view distance models. And we were able to basically tune those up, improve the visual quality. Something we're going to be doing as well is just kind of tweaking that a little bit more going into the end of the year to kind of get a little bit more out of the H-slot system or the nanite system. So that's something that you guys look forward to make the game look a little more visually interesting there. Um, and then let's see. Another thing was basically we did the mini map. We did a lot of the UI stuff. We saw that people still wanted us to basically consider adding color tints onto the actual like UI icons. Like, either just like by rows or either just each one being a different color instead of the more simplistic like non-colored version direction we went in. So it's something we're going to be looking into when we pivot and go back to the doctrine and the CERC stuff around this time with the Abrams. Is that we're going to basically grab our concept artists and see if we can kind of add a little bit of color to the command buttons on the bottom right and some of the airstrikes from what you guys have been giving us for feedback, because we might have went a little overboard when it came to just keeping everything just one generic color. We kind of looked a lot at StarCraft and Broken Arrow and what's the World in Conflict, and we were like, well, we kept noticing everyone just does one color for the entire UI. And we assumed it was for color blindness and a couple other accessibility issues, but I guess people generally don't like that too much when it comes to basically just having that generic color over one the entire palette. So that's something I wanted to bring up here for basically maybe if you can just go and mention it online if you guys agree, disagree with something that we were going to be looking into. I mean, I guess we could always just make it an option where it's like basically you check mark a box and we add a tint to every line on the command thing to make like the first line stand out, the second line stand out. Don't know, but that's something that I'm curious to just kind of gather some more feedback. And I don't think we mentioned it in an AMA previously, so I just wanted to throw that out there for people that are listening on YouTube and people that are basically here today can maybe mention it, so that way I can get some more data. Um, we got the Avenger turrets in, we got the stationary emplacements. And basically just kind of building towards, having air units for infected. We kind of put the Avenger stationary turret in there and everything else. The counter the birds. The counter basically future anti-air units that were we were basically kind of like slowly but surely planning for. Um, let's see here. Let me just go down my list. We got the birds. We went through the birds. We did the dynamic civilian groups. And I mean, yeah, that would be in a nutshell the biggest things that we've done was basically dynamic civilian groups and basically just kind of polishing them up to make it to where they're more of a realistic depiction of people in a cityscape environment. There's still some work to be done, like what I talked about in the roadmap. But that's something where basically we're kind of putting it on the back burner until we can find some free time along the major line items to basically go in and sneak in a couple of adjustments and corrections to dynamic civilian groups just to kind of flesh them out a little bit longer, a little bit more. But that's pretty much all I really have there in terms of basically like, because otherwise I could be going on forever, Durvar. Is there anything you wanted to kind of like point on directly before I move on to the next section?
Well, I think some of the large things that I've noticed, most definitely, well, some of the large things I've enjoyed is obviously the evacuations, the introduction of the aircraft carrier, well, proper introduction of what the aircraft carrier is going to be utilised for. And yeah, just everything that has really been properly introduced is definitely taking a large leap forward instead of just taking small steps. I think the game's taking a large leap forward into what its potential could really achieve. I think it's definitely been a year of like you said to yourself, interesting ups and downs. So yeah, I definitely look forward to what next year holds and yeah, what's to come.
You know what? You brought up a very interesting point I need to elaborate on. Is that the aircraft carrier, which I don't know how I even breezed over that. I apologize. I'm partially sick right now, so just bear with me, guys. But the aircraft carrier is really the biggest thing coming this month. The aircraft carrier and the winter's change. So the aircraft carrier what we're currently, let me rephrase this. The We didn't immediately start the aircraft carrier after we did the UI was because I kind of had earmarked certain sections of the game that just were lacking, and they were systems that we had done when we first built the game, and they just were never gone back and revisited and improved, like the camera controls and some things like that. So we earmarked some sections of the code and we were just like, look, like I hate the camera controls. I don't like moving around. It's too slow here. It's too fast here. It's not configurable enough here. And just stuff like that, we basically just kind of earmarked and we were just like, okay, like let's spend a week. Let's look at all the other RTS games. Let's go play other RTS games. And then let's take apart our camera and see if we can make a better one. And that was a new camera that you guys got roughly around the Halloween sale, give or take. It was the Halloween sale in November, basically. Where basically we pushed that brand new camera and just generally lock-on system for basically following characters. Then we pushed the move order queuing because that was another thing where we were like looking at other RTS games and we were like, well, like these systems, maybe I don't use them as much in other games, and my prioritization was to get the unique things in that like are different in Cepheus Protocol in initially, and then go back and bake in some of those like small quality of life changes that gives the game more volume, more range in terms of like the queuing. That was another thing we had earmarked, where basically we kind of breezed over it in the initial years of development, and we were like, okay, we gotta stop putting this off. We need to add in proper move cues for moving, for attacking, for patrolling, and just basically just kind of go in that direction. And then for building, we redid the entire build queue system from the ground up in that month as well. In terms of basically between the UI stuff and starting the carrier, because I kind of wanted to use that month to just kind of fix some of the core that people were kind of like upset about or basically felt that it was still lacking, even though we had been in early access for so long. So I was like, okay, I hear what you guys are saying. Some people are very flustered that basically we don't have proper move queuing. We don't have proper like camera controls. It's a little bit janky at times. People don't like being gimbal locked. Gimbal lock was basically when you would like regressively move the camera. You could get it stuck upside down or at a weird incline. And then basically there was no way of fixing it unless you knew had to like click on a unit and hit the snap to button feature, and then that would fix the gimbal lock. So like we redid that. We made it so you can't clip under the map anymore. Like the entire camera was rewritten and just torn out from the ground up. And that was just kind of part of that month push to kind of like, okay, we really, really, really need to go back to these core systems and see about improving them. And then there was an emphasis on bugs. There was an emphasis on performance, where basically we tried to gather as much as save files that we could of people that were basically just having a terrible time in terms of in the mid to late game, the frame rate would kind of dip. You know, and even though they were on like a 10th generation processor for a really good 4080, it would still dip. So we were able to look at those save files in that time period. We were able to basically analyze what aspects of the game were spawning or were doing too much at certain times in the sake of keeping everything like maybe you could potentially see this happen. And basically, we had to improve our view frustum checks and our visibility culling. Like, I'll give you an example. Sometimes when your mortars killed someone off map, we would still spawn the DNA icons, even if you weren't looking at them when they died. And that was something where it was like, it's a small change, but for low-end computers, not spawning those XP tickers and not spawning those DNA special icons when you're not looking at it off map for the mortars made all the difference. Because you figure, when we added the mortars in and we made it to where they can auto-fire, which was another huge thing we did during that month, where I was like, we need to just kind of look at all the core systems and be like, this is lacking, a lot of complaints towards this aspect sucks. You know, we were basically like, okay, let's just take everything everyone's saying, put it on a board, and then see if we can just kind of fix up some of the core stuff before we go back to the aircraft carrier. And one of them was the Apache. That got even more fixes going into today, where basically the missiles and the actual firing is a lot more like accurate. It's a lot more useful as a unit, because that unit would sometimes just go like, I couldn't even tell you what it was doing sometimes in terms of its AI coding. So that was part of some of the stuff that we pushed in this last month as well. Then we also pushed the I'm having a damn brain fire. I had it a second ago and now I lost it. But basically, like there's been a big emphasis in the last month to 2 months to just kind of clean up as much of the core as possible, fix what's already there, and then go on to the aircraft carrier after we did the UI. And I'm trying to think. Am I missing anything, Durva? I know you've been in a lot of the discussions in and out, but you think I should just kind of earmark before we go into the things that we had to kind of leave by the wayside?
None that I can think of at the moment.
Cause I know that, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Because you figure, and then again, for the aircraft carrier, right now, we're working on virtualizing or faking the navigation mesh. So then that way we can have the aircraft carrier where you can physically move your units on the deck and in the bowels as it's moving. Because the technical limitation of the engine, where we're going to have to do something. Basically, Sea of Thieves does this, where their AI nav mesh does not support updating in real time per se for the ships. So they have a proxy actor thousands of feet under the water where the navigation actually is for the ships. So that way AI use that and then do advanced math to basically like translate them, so that way they know how to move on the ship when it's moving and it's bouncing and it's moving around on the sea. Because dynamic navigation on moving objects is one of the most complicated things you can do in game design. So that's why basically like, okay, we took this time, we fixed up all this stuff. Now we're going to use these next couple weeks to get the aircraft carrier in, get it, working, get an experimental out, see what bugs we run into, to make the winters change. And then we're going to push the operator back. We're going to push the doctrine and the CERC stuff forward. And we're going to do that because that's what people actually want. Is basically to have us kind of add the Abrams and to add in the weapon packages and all this stuff. Because right now the modelers are finishing the finishing touches on the weapon packages for the helicopters. The Abrams is functionally done. We just have to. It's in the engine. It's playable. It's just we haven't balanced it yet, so we haven't released it yet. So that's kind of on hold until we could do all the weapon stuff and all the balancing stuff at the same time for the Abrams, for the infected. Make sure the Juggernaut knows what to do. And make sure that the Abrams isn't just basically a god unit that nothing can kill, and then you just GG and the game has no difficulty. So that's part of the things that kind of go into it that we're considering, which is why we're kind of hitting all of that at the same time, and why Michael, which is the cat that does our balance, is like, okay, we're going to rebalance the game, we bring in the Abrams, make sure everything's going, make sure nothing's too OP, X, Y, and Z. So I think that kind of summarizes basically what's going on going into December for Christmas. And then I would expect, if we don't run into any issues, then I would expect an aircraft carrier in a week or so on experimental. If we run into issues, maybe a little bit longer. If we have to basically do some kind of like re-engineering of the engine or experimentation here and there. So that I would plan by, again, the Christmas to have the winters change, and to have the carrier change, and then a couple more quality of life and small adjustments here and there, crash fixes, bug fixes, all that fun stuff. I would probably expect in January and February will probably be Doctrines months. And I would say that basically that's going to be a period where we're just basically going through and we're just solidifying CERC from a play style, from a standpoint of just like, okay, we're not going to touch them anymore. We're gonna add some new doctrine stuff on the tree. We're gonna add a DNA research tab. We're gonna basically just kind of get the game in for pandemic mode done from a feature complete standpoint. Because in that way, people understand like, oh, when I play, like I gotta make sure that I'm farming for DNA, so I can tech up into these aspects of gameplay to make my CERC soldiers stronger, be able to stay in contagion zones longer, and X, Y, and Z. But we'll get into that. So anyhow, let's go on to the nitty gritty, Duravar.
Under the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Yep. So let's go on to the good stuff of what's left on the roadmap to come into the game. So what's the coming stuff?
Well, I wanted to briefly touch upon the cuts. Yeah, I'll briefly touch on that. No, we didn't. So basically, there were two things that got cut this year. And cut is the gender feature thing for like being able to set male or female was more of a cost ballooning basically adjustment change, where it was like it just to give you an example, it starts, I didn't really do a good enough job of elaborating, it starts at $2,000 for each character, and then it increases if you have a female version, and then animating it, getting it all in there. Now, because we don't do different animations between male and female, it doesn't necessarily matter. But generally, it's around $2,000 up, basically, to get a new character in, and then you have to factor in the cost of the female. So when it came down to it as an indie project, if I have to make the decision of making a bugless game, a more performant game, to basically be able to kind of get the major line items for the roadmap on, and because we're in early access, we have to not be afraid to be like, okay, look, these systems didn't work out. It'd be great. It's a cool cosmetic feature. When we add modding, someone could go back and put it back in if they really wanted to. If we suddenly got a lot more resources, then that's something we could go back and potentially look at. Regardless, factions is one of those things where it's in limbo, it's in TBA. We have like a quarter of the assets done, we have all of the concept done, but it's more so the fact that each model for each vehicle takes roughly around 1 to 2 months. Then that's not even counting in the vehicles. So you figure you guys would be waiting forever. And then basically we have a lot more stuff on the pipeline where it's just not achievable at this time to do the factions and to do them to a level that's not going to be, pardon my French, half-assed. So basically it's one of those things where it's like, okay, we need to make the hard decision that we spread ourselves too thin. Mind you, this is our first game. Most of the people on this team have never made a game before. We do this in our free time from day jobs. Some people work at Best Buy, some people work at paralegals, being a paralegal or whatever. So it came down to like, how do we refocus on the aspects that we can't do a very great job on, put this on the back burner, and when we're not spread thin as much, or we can basically, we get a publisher, or like co-op comes out, and then we're able to get a lot more new revenue stream from that. Then we can be like, okay, now we have more money. Now we can basically allocate that towards bringing on maybe 1 or 2 contractors that are in the back end are doing these faction vehicles or are doing these faction structures. Because the police and anarchists were going to be very complicated, very involved aspects of gameplay based off of the previous discussions that we had. And it would be a disjustice to basically put them back in and then not even implement them to the level that we had basically discussed previously. So I was like, this really fucking sucks. And I can't think of another way of getting around it other than just let's pull it back. Let's put it on the TBD. And basically, let's find the time, because you figure, to me, Cepheus Protocol is more like a Stellaris, where it's like, we're not going anywhere. It's going to be an evolving, growing game. So it just gives us a goal to work towards long term, in terms of basically like, like something to push forward to release after early access, worst case. Or maybe if we get enough, if co-op blows up enough, maybe even just the same time as the campaign or shortly after the campaign. Because like I was telling some people on the lore channel the other day after I did that letter to the producer, is that inevitably, regardless, we still have to have a majority of those assets for the campaign towards the end part of 2024, because those characters are in the campaign. So, it might just be where it's like, okay, guys, we're not going to include it like right now, 1.4, 1.5. We're going to go on and work on the campaign, and then it might just be a situation where we release it with the release of the campaign, or shortly after the release of the campaign, where it's like, okay, like, here's what we promised initially. But it just kind of like, right now it's basically just kind of keeping the overhead a little bit more manageable for the team. So yeah, that is in a nutshell what basically happened to factions with Pierce and Natalie. And this does not include dynamic civilian groups. Dynamic civilian groups will continue to evolve. They'll continue to be the basis at which the factions will kind of form as like a template going, or they'll become more complicated versions of the dynamic civilian groups, because systems that we bake into there will be used to basically give us more of a leg up for when we actually do the factions. Whether it be more advanced diplomacy, whether it be trading, whether it be giving them missions like following your units and protecting them, those kind of ideas where you can like kind of talk to them. Let me see. That's pretty much everything I got there, Durvar.
Thank you. I was just reading some of the things on the roadmap. So what's left for the roadmap? Like, can you elaborate?
Well, you figure, let's see. The biggest thing was essentially just cleaning up we did the Doctrine CERC Policy section. We did the DNA research tree briefly. That's going to be more so of just kind of getting DNA. We're going to be adding in an Atlas vehicle that you can basically send into contamination zones, whether it be yellow or red. And then it will basically trigger the infection to get annoyed or mad in that zone after they deploy. And then you'll have to basically defend it to essentially, like it'll be a ticker where it just kind of ticks up DNA. And then after that ticker hits a certain amount, you could bring in a Chinook and you could airlift it out. You could manually escort it out. It just kind of depends, essentially, how you decide to go about getting it out, how you're going to defend it, how long you're going to stay in the zone for. And it's kind of a risk versus reward. Or the longer you stay, the more DNA you could get, but essentially, like, the more adversaries you're going to come against, the more your units are going to be wore down. And you have to think about, like, can I hold this location any longer? So some people will come in, they'll bring in medium guard towers, and they'll build fortifications, and they'll probably just set up a mobile ops base there, like a forward operating base, and then just try and farm it, and then get it out of a corridor, theoretically. Sorry. So that's going to open up a lot of avenues of gameplay for people that don't want to just run around and do the whole DNA fetch quest thing with the scientists. Is they can also kind of pursue that avenue for basically strengthening the CERC and basically eventually getting to the shredder routes. Beyond the DNA research trade, there's going to be roughly around 10 line items that you're going to be able to allocate into for basically reducing the time that acid burns your units for the spinner, being able to reduce the chance of infecting your units every time they're meleeed, reducing how long it takes increasing the time that it takes for your units to turn, being able to research the DNA scanners and the hand scanners are going to be moved under that DNA research tree instead of being granted automatically. The Black Hawk bunker buster missile for the Leviathan will be moved under there as well. So we're going to basically be taking some of the mechanics that are more DNA related and kind of shuffling them around to kind of add a better progression to the game. So as the world escalates and as you're basically leveling up and kind of like learning, you're able to kind of get better technology to be employed, whether it be for your helicopters, your ground units, your vehicles, and that kind of stuff. And then let's see. Then from that point, it's basically the operator change, which is essentially going to be the basically making it play more like Division, or or Resident Evil 4, where it's more of a modern third-person shooter where you hit someone, they have a hit reaction, and then that way you can have squads. Because some people keep asking, can we control anyone? Well, the idea is that you can bring in as many operators, and you can make as many operators as you'd like when this feature is implemented. So they'll just take up population and they'll take up money. So you could build an army with a good assortment of operators. It's just going to eat up a lot of your population. But these operators will basically be cookie cutter in terms of basically like Legos, where you can take abilities from other units and apply them to the operator. You can use those abilities in third person, or you can use those abilities in an RTS standpoint, kind of like Battlefield Earth 2's or Battlefield Earth 1's hero creator, is the idea of it. So they'll basically be your heroes that basically lead the battle, lead their squads, and you could have one built so that way he increases XP gain of units around him, and he basically has a grenade or a stun grenade, or maybe even has C4 or like the Claymore we plan on adding. Because the idea is that the items that are being removed when we do the like for instance the mines are going to like the sniper per se. So when we do that, you can take that mine, you can make your hero to where he can place an individual mine theoretically. So if you know someone's coming around the corner, you can place it or use it as an early detection system as an ability, and then someone will walk over it, boom, they die. So that's the direction the operator change is going into. You can see a video of that in the last post that we did. And then the last, well, that's not the last, but basically the last couple of things would be the infected AI and lieutenant AI. So I'm just going to hit upon this very briefly because it's very detailed in the post itself. Is that the infected AI will come down to essentially being where we're going to spruce up and improve the Juggernaut AI. We're going to look at their attacking and defending logic to basically see how well they're able to basically tactfully plan about insulting turtlers. People that literally just build vast outposts with vast fortresses with mortars and strikers and helicopters, do they understand enough to be able to figure out where a weakness point is, where they should stop pushing you, and instead should retreat, set up a no man's land, and then essentially start building up big groups to send in waves at different points. So that way it's more of like, okay, like they're starting to learn. You keep slaughtering them in this zone, they're going to pull back, they're going to make it a no man's land, they're going to basically reinforce, they're going to bring in jugs, they're going to bring in leviathans, they're going to bring in birds, they're going to bring in standard infected, they're going to break them up into parties, and they're going to test and prod your lines. So it's something that we want to basically just kind of push in terms of basically the AI tech, to where essentially that way they're an actual adversary, and like they're kind of testing to figure out like, oh, where's the best area to go? Let's mark these areas as bad. Let's mark these areas that worked previously, or what didn't work, and what did work, so they can just kind of up the ante every time they do attack it. To try and see if, oh, that didn't work? Okay, fuck it. That's the max out. We're going to relocate to grid 6, 7. That area connects with the zone as well. We're going to test this, and that. That doesn't work. Okay. And then there will be a line where they draw, and they're like, okay, what we're sending isn't working. So let's just send to all of them at the same time and see if we can overwhelm the player's defenses. That kind of stuff, basically. Within the confines of the population available to the infected. So that's like the AI stuff going into them. It's going to be the lieutenants in terms of making sure that essentially they know how to retreat, when to attack, when to use abilities, and they're not just, because the lieutenants are kind of all over the place at times. So we need to kind of spend a week minimum on each AI for the lieutenants as well, and be like, hey, let's focus on Chelsea, let's focus on this, let's focus on that, let's get some animations done for them in terms of basically like executions for your soldiers. Let's get some dodges put in, so that way if a striker shoots at Chelsea, she can sidestep out of the way. Like little small things. They like happen all the time in Prototype. They kind of sell the immersion that like you're fighting like a superhuman being, like Alec Mercer from Prototype, or it's like, it's a very insurmountable like battle, and you can't just bring in a couple of guys and just expect to just not have to have any direct control, and you're just going to auto win when you fight the lieutenants or you fight Chelsea. We're still on the fence for the swimming. I'm still gathering feedback on that. I've not really made my mind on the swimming aspect. And then when it comes to the building climbing, we experimented with that about a year or so ago, but we haven't had the time to basically really flesh it out. It was very buggy at the time when it came down to it for the really big map. So this is going to be kind of when we draw the line in the sand, and we're like, okay, we need to either get it working with the nav links that are built into the engine, or we need to basically engineer our own custom solution. So if CERC are on a building, they'll run to an entry point on the building, climb up it, and then jump on top of the building when they reach the top. Kind of like in Left 4 Dead. So that way there is no safe spot for you anymore. You being on the roofs, you're just a temporary inconvenience for the next meal, essentially. Eventually, they'll be able to climb up and get up there. And then I mentioned San Francisco. Yeah. And then San Francisco North, I mentioned that. Basically, that's on hold while I work on the doctrine stuff and the vehicle modeling stuff. So once we get that stuff situated, we'll get back on San Francisco North, because regardless, we have to work on that for the campaign. That's like literally a good majority of the campaign takes place in San Francisco North and on Treasure Island and some of the interiors as well. So basically there's that. And then comes co-op, where co-op is going to be basically what I kind of mentioned on those line items, where it's going to be essentially hitting upon those 4, seeing if anything else kind of rears its ugly head in terms of basically when we actually do co-op testing. We'll do the normal stuff, like you figure. If I had to guess, we'll probably have a viable build within a month of starting co-op. And then basically from there, we'll probably do closed tests. We'll just invite people on the public Discord via we'll put up a poll. So that would be sometime towards the end of Q1, I would hope, of 2024. We'll put up a poll, be like, hey, who wants to help playtest co-op? We need people that are like this, and this. Have these kind of specs, have these kind of internet. So then that way we can basically just really, really stress test and get all the information we need. Then it'll go out on experimental. and we'll basically open it up to everyone once we feel it's stable enough. And then eventually it'll be folded right back into the normal build. Then after co-op, at that time, we'll basically move on to doing the modding and figuring out the campaign stuff and starting to kind of get all of that arranged going into the rest of 2024. In a nutshell, that is the plan going in for now, going into 2024. And again, my goal is regardless of the next 2 or 3 months, I'll make another letter to the producer when we officially enter the stages of working on co-op. And then at that time, we'll just be doing maintenance and bug fixes or whatever on the core game. But ultimately, we'll just be working on that in its entirety for however long it takes, from a month to 2 months, to just kind of get the first playable, thing internally going. That's everything I got there, Var. You want to open it up for questions?
Yeah, let's open it up to the good old questions and let's see what we get. So we got one from Carol Brick. Question: When the new mobile research atlas config is added, will it be the only way to collect DNA points, or can scientists still be sent out after zombies die to collect DNA points?
Oh, absolutely. I don't want to take away that ability. Like, you figure it comes down to basically just giving the players more choices of how to play. Some people just do not like the monogamous fact of just having to go and kill people and collect every single individual DNA. And then you add on to the fact that they're going to have a vast research tree in terms of like 10 new items. I just wanted to give people a way of doing it that would kind of like build towards like, okay, like maybe they're not attacking as much, so they're more defensive oriented. But they don't want to like constantly play merry-go-round or running their scientists around their line and dodging infected. Because we all know how that goes sometimes, is that they can just, it's like just a new way of gathering. Like, I have no intention of removing that. Someone asked for the Patreon in the YouTube chat, so I'll give that to him. Go ahead and pick the next one.
Yep. Marauder asks, just like to ask, when they finish the civilian bugs, you see them wandering around. I think that's just a bug thing. I think it's a bug one. It would be cool if we see an escort feature. So like you can escort other civilians or other units. Isn't there already in?
So I think is he talking about a guard feature like Age of Empires 2, or is he talking about like a legitimate escort where you like? I think guard and escort are basically the same thing, where it was like a shield in Age of Empires 2, and then you would click on someone, and then wherever that unit went, it would follow him, and if that unit took damage, it would basically immediately like stop whatever he was doing and try and kill whoever was hurting that unit. Is that what he's asking for, basically? Kind of like that?
Yeah, like a literal guard feature.
I think that's the same. I think that's the same person that asked in the channel the other day. It might not be, but I'll just basically say that like for that feature, I have to see if I can find UI space. We have so many buttons on the command thing at the bottom right that we have so many features that we ran out of space at the bottom right where you can put those things. So either I have to increase the amount of boxes that we have down there, or I have to figure out a way of like simplifying or like getting rid of one of the ones that people don't use. Let me get back to you on that one because that's been on my wish list for a long time, but I wasn't really kind of sure where it should go in terms of priorities yet. But yeah, that is definitely up there in terms of like something I'm gonna personally see if we can figure out when we do the Abrams and the Doctrine stuff and the CERC stuff. But I completely breezed over this. I'm so sorry. Is that we redid all the airstrikes. So we do the CERC stuff and we do the Doctrine stuff for the Abrams. You guys will be getting brand new airstrikes for everything visually that are modern. So like the Thunderbolt looks like a Thunderbolt run. It has the sounds. The carpet bomb is actual carpet bomb that are like physically simulated. Like we posted an announcement a while ago, but like all the airstrikes got redone, including the napalm strike. It's glorious. So I completely forgot to mention that earlier. I don't know how I breezed over that. Anyhow, back to you, Derek.
John Castile in the YouTube chat asks, "Will we ever get a mode without patient zero and elites where we're just in the middle of a zombie apocalypse and have to build our quarantine and evacuation zones up the same?"
Son of a bitch! I knew this was coming. I was gonna actually bring this up at the end, so whoever that is just beat me to it. You're like a wizard. So someone brought this up in the general Discord, and I've been kind of hesitant towards it because I know from a back-end standpoint, everything, the entire game is built on Chelsea. So theoretically, on paper, we could remove her and make it to where basically it's based off of like a group of infected just randomly just start somewhere, and then your goal is just to eradicate all the infected. But that would probably take a couple of days and then weeks of bug fixing, and it'd be a brand new game mode. I don't know if there's enough people that warrant us putting those resources in. Because you figure, if we did that, like I told the person in general chat, look, if you want us to do this, I don't know we could fit it in there, A. B, I would at least need a couple of people that would be willing to just kind of stress test it and bug test it for us for at least a couple of weeks as well. Be like, hey, like you're our secret super duper testers that are just testing out alternate start mode, like in almost Fallout, where like it's essentially just, an alternate, because Pandemic has never been canon. Pandemic is your story. What are you going to do? How do you want to play the game? Not how we want to play it. So we give you the tools, have fun. So essentially, it's one of those things where it's like, I kind of have to feel the room and see what other people think as well, and then see if it's something that people want us to kind of look into in the future about basically putting resources into. So it's something for you guys to consider. Maybe start a thread on it on Discord and see how many people are like really interested. So, or I can put a poll up and see. But I mean, I'm interested. I'm intrigued to basically try it. I just need more data to figure out, like, is this just a niche feature, or would a lot of people kind of like this? Now, in my mind, regardless, Pandemic and Normal will always be the focus of Chelsea and her lieutenants. They're going to get a lot more improvement. They're going to get a lot more expansion, because the game was always built on the fundamental idea of reverse cat and mouse. You're the mouse, she's the cat, now run away. Until basically the mouse gets a knife and then is able to kill the cat. But you get the point where it's like you're working backwards in Cepheus Protocol. And I realize for some people that's kind of jarring at times, where it's like in a traditional RTS, you're in the power position, you can kill the enemy anytime you want based off of your own skill. And there's actually like there's almost like breaks in place to make it to where it's not like what you're expecting per se, because you got to get the shredder rounds and you have to kill her, and even then, technically, the infection's still on the map. Or we leave it there just so people can just go and just keep playing, because we used to have it to where the map would just, like, everyone just died. Like, all the infected would just shrivel up and die. And in the canon, in the story, you kill Chelsea, you kill the infection, and then basically just kind of like, they just shut down. Like, there's no hive mind anymore. So it's kind of like, okay, now we can just mop them all up kind of deal. So then we took that out because people wanted to be able to go out there and just go to town. Like, they wanted to just burn entire villages, like after they had killed Chelsea, and keep playing for hours. So we took that out as a compromise. So it's one of those things where it's like we need to kind of, let me see what people are saying. I guess I have to just kind of wait. I'll put it up as a poll. I'll feel the community out and see basically if it's something they want, and then if it's something you guys want, then we'll go from there in terms of me figuring out when the heck we can fit that in there, and what cats are gonna like volunteer as tribute to basically help us flesh that system out. Because like I would argue that a system like that would probably not see the day of light until right before co-op. Because we already have so much on our plate already, and we already are like I'm gonna be honest here, we're delayed. We've kind of gotten a little bit slapped around by bugs and performance issues and other random things, but that just kind of happens with game design. It's not just a direct path. It's kind of like up and down and right and up, and then eventually you just kind of, you're able to kind of reassert your footing and kind of keep going. So, yeah. Anyway, back to you, Dervar.
Okie dokie. Someone had their hand up, but they seem to have taken it down. Oh, we got hands now.
Dun 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 dun.
The clone.
The clone.
What's up? It's me. I'm here to bother the creator again.
Oh no. What the?
Okay. One of the questions that actually intrigued me, I'm gonna ask it for the guy. I think it was Oh yeah. Hellrider. I forget if you answered this. Are the Abrams gonna be a unique unit? Because it's kind of like an armored version of the minigun.
No, it's going to be basically just like the Striker. It's going to have a higher population. It's going to have a crew. So the idea that this is what we're trying to go towards. So basically we're trying to go towards the direction of Company Heroes where there's a crew and that the Abrams will have like 3 to 4 people in it. And they're going to kind of be like the special assault mesh, whatever. And the idea would be, like, I think the Abrams are going to be like 6 to 8 pop. I don't quote me on it. We haven't done the final balancing. But it'll be roughly around there. And they're just going to be like 2 to 3 times the Striker. They'll have... Yeah?
Well, then what makes the minigunner unique enough to have 1 cap if they're not as powerful as, say, a tank?
That was a good goddamn question. So, ultimately, when it came down to that unit... it was basically a call-in, so we saw it as basically a super unit. We didn't make the Abrams a super unit because we wanted to basically allow people to just kind of mask them out. Like, I guess I get what you're saying, where there's a weird distinction there, but it kind of came down to like.
I actually have a recommendation.
Okay.
Make it so things like the minigun and Abrams, they're super units in the early stage of the game. You can only call down 1 or 2 until you research them, and then they can be mass-produced.
Let me marinate on that. Because you figure the minigunner, you might have just brought up a good point. When the minigunner theoretically might need to be either revised or basically added to the barracks, and all you do is you just research him from the doctrine tree. Because I'll be honest with you, when we first started, we looked at Company Heroes, and we were like, okay, we want to make 3 branches. We want to have it to where each branch, you choose one, and there was no like cross-pollination like it is right now. Like you couldn't do mobile infantry, armored, and the engineer. You could only do one and play through that the whole game. But then that was a little bit too restricting, and so we got away from the Company Heroes approach. And what you're suggesting, what you're talking about, I believe, is kind of like one of those issues of like growth pains almost, where it's like it's a mechanic or a system that has not been altered or corrected since we made the change to make the whole thing a skill tree. Where like it doesn't really make that much sense to leave the minigunner as a 1-in when you think about the fact that they aren't even like, they're really good if they're supported. They're really good if they have a lot of free line of sight around them, but that is a perfect example of like, because of the direction we're going in with the VTOLs, with the Abrams, and with the other like upgrade packages, where you're going to go into the doctrine tree, you're going to allocate skill points, and then you're just going to have those. Sorry, excuse me. Unlocked just from the get-go to build, to upgrade. I feel like that's a remnant of a system that we need to basically alter to give the players more freedom, creative freedom, to be like, hey, yeah, you can get a minigunner, but he's 10 pop, or like he's like 8 pop or whatever, because he wrecks town. So maybe you could get like 2 or 3 of them, kind of deal. I feel like that might be a better direction to go into. You get what I'm saying? To keep it consistent with what the
Yeah, I
Dragon.
understand what you're just saying. Just make it a unified system. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, because I just feel like it's one of those things that we just kind of left on the wayside. Where it's just kind of like it didn't evolve with the rest of the game.
Now,
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
For my question that I had, I know you'll be changed. I think you will be adding like small boats and stuff that you can deploy from the carrier. Am I correct?
No boats on the carrier just yet. The test.
Okay.
So the reason why the carrier is like this whole month is that you figure we're testing it in stages. So this first stage is the AI and all that. Then we're gonna test buoyancy and water simulation.
Okay.
And then after that, yeah.
Sorry, my question with that is if we could you make it so we could deploy heavier landing craft from the carrier, so that could be used to open up like new fronts that on like different islands or river areas or something.
That is currently on a wish list item. Because like you figure first we want to see just how well we can do the aircraft carrier, how well we can do the navigation on the water. And we're taking it in baby steps where it's like we're kind of like it's like the we're basically taking it in baby steps where we're just like we want to get the aircraft carrier, we want to get the buoyancy, we want to get it so it can simulate on the water. We want to add real water to the game like in Fortnite instead of because right now our water is just static meshes. Like it's literally just a mesh, a plane. It looks ugly. So it's like we want to get there first and see how expensive it is and figure out what we can and cannot do from like a technical standpoint. And then from there, we're going to be like, okay, you can, right now, the 2 ways of doing the aircraft carrier, well, 3 ways, is using it as a mobile base, using it to basically dock at ports, or and the 3rd way is to beach it basically on the back of it, and then basically drop the loading dock, and then you can have units basically disembark from it, which isn't the most realistic thing ever. But the idea was that's 3 ways of basically you just kind of using it to kind of like get out there and fight. And then from there, we're gonna see just how things go, and then just alliterate or like elaborate, go from there essentially. Any other questions?
No, I will give this to someone else. I think Jonte has a question. Or raised his hand.
Yeah. All right, back to you, Duravar. Hit one up. Who's next?
I'll bring Jonte in, and then we'll get back to the text ones.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Don't forget about YouTube.
Oh, don't worry.
Hi.
That's
Hi.
also part of the text ones.
I had
What's
a
up?
question about the units. I wanted to ask if there would be new kind of units, like as you said before, that you were trying to fix with the carrier first. But I wanted to ask if there would be like a VTOL air unit or like kind of airplanes or like small boats or support ships to the carrier that you can like call in special cannon fire from the ships towards the special areas you designate.
So we're talking about more units on the sea. Like I was telling the previous cat,
more realistically, because if you like would be an army that's supposed to prevent the infection or like making people extract from the area where it's affected, you would probably throw in everything you would have in your arsenal with other things, ships and aircraft or drones at least.
Well, when it comes to adding more ships, we're not adding anything new besides the carrier at this time. Like, that's going to be something we're going to have to look at going into the future when it comes down to it. We're taking it kind of in baby steps where it's like we're going to do the carrier. We have destroyer models and we have other models that are basically just kind of like on the back end. But, yeah, we haven't really kind of pushed that too much in terms of like, that's just something we're going to have to do in the future. It's not a bad idea. It's something that's more on my wish list. I mean, so it's just something that we're going to have to just come back to in the future. But it is a good suggestion.
Yeah, I have another question too. I would also like to see upgrades that you could like upgrade your structures, like making them deal more damage. And I have also noticed they are having a big problem finding targets in the darkness. Even the spotlights don't light up the targets that well.
So when you say finding targets, you mean like they just don't see them?
Yeah, they don't see them until they are upon the structures themselves sometimes.
Guard towers?
Yeah, the guard towers, the units itself don't see the targets before it's almost upon them.
What I would recommend you do is please make a thread on the forums and send me your save file. And then just basically tag me Then basically from there, we'll basically look into the issues that you're talking about. When it comes for the upgrades, I'm going to put that down on AmA. I'm going to basically put your suggestion down of maybe having AmA modifiers. We're basically on the
Yeah.
doctor and stuff, so that way you can kind of get a little more damage, like incendiary rounds or like that. Let me come back to you on that one because it's something that we could potentially look into doing very simply when we do the when we do the CERC stuff, the revamp, the cleaning it all up. So I'm gonna I wrote that down. Anything else?
No, thanks for the time.
No worries, no worries. All right, Ervar, back to you.
Okie dokie. I'm just scaring through the YouTube one now. Darth Killer asks, will there ever be a local police force like SWAT? No, I think that's like.
That's on the. So for that question, go on the last announcement post that I made on for the letter to the producer. That'll answer your question there. Essentially, it's something. Yeah, it'll be in there. Okay, what else?
Yep. Also, Comrade Brotherhood and Unity, what a name. Also, being able to use civilian cars and trucks, like spawn them from friendly factions, like the troop squads. It would be cool to have police cars and fire trucks.
That's basically what we were talking about with like the faction stuff. Is we wanted to basically incorporate those. So that's something that's on the back burner. I'm gonna say until the campaign, so we have the more resources to basically do more unique AI, do vehicle AI for the AI for the the AI, and so that way they can drive around, they can simulate that. That's all coming like I would argue around the campaign time, and then the pandemic will just kind of benefit from all the new stuff that we do from that. What else do we got?
Sekman asks, would you consider adding quality of life feature to the game as it is now? It would help tremendously if my units equipped with explosives would shoot structures and being infected, only instead of wasting their shots.
We just added that actually. There was someone that suggested that in the forums if we add more fire modes. So we just added a fire mode for only shooting infected. And then we added a fire mode. Well, the fire mode for shooting buildings has always been there. So I think that's what he's asking for, right? So that way your units don't waste their ammo. Like if you have a Cobra, they don't just shoot. Sorry, the Apache. If you have the Apache, they don't just shoot the standard infected with their missiles. You can literally click on the unit and then click through the fire modes until you find buildings or until you find special infected, and then that way you can set sort of groups, subgroups, or even just individuals to target the most dangerous ones in the that are coming towards you. Is that what he's asking?
I think so.
Yeah, I believe
Cool.
I believe we did that.
They've responded cool.
Yeah, that's in right now, so you guys can play that as of the Friday build.
Yep. And to ask question, will there be an infected version of the operator whenever you make the infected playable?
We actually made it to where they killed themselves. So we were afraid that basically the operators would be too strong. So like we made it to where like right now they can't be infected. When we add the skill tree, the goal is that you can set the chance of you can like level the chance up of them like not being infected. Like you can improve their resistance if they're a melee class. So when we go back to the operator and we flesh them out, they will be infectable, and then they'll be balanced to where they'll be a super unit, like a below a lieutenant, but they will still wreck you. In terms of basically if you let a lieutenant, not a lieutenant, if you let an operator get infected basically and turned.
Okay. Oh, that's apparently not what they're asking.
Oh? What's he asking?
I'm not sure.
Well, I guess while he elaborates, just grab someone else.
Yep.
Well,
Hellhounds20 asks, I heard co-op. Is the plan going to be 2 players versus the infected scale up, or is it a player controlling the infection?
The co-op is going to be basically just closest one I can find is anyone here has played Stellaris co-op. It's going to be basically just you share CERC, and the host basically divvies up resources in terms of like what you can and cannot do. It's like a game master almost. And the idea would be is that they just kind of specify like what you can do, what you can build, and then you join their sessions. Currently, we're aiming for 4 players minimum, and then from there we'll test and elaborate as we go because I want to test with having more operator players, so you could have teams of players like if you have friends like to play Call of Duty, I want to test to see if we can push the engine to have it to where you can have people that are persistently just an operator and they're playing in fire teams on the ground beyond the 4 that are playing in co-op. But that's something that's like we're going to be doing private tests for to kind of figure out like can we push it up to 16 or 12 and have like 4 people that can switch between operator and RTS, and then the rest can just queue in as shooters where they just buy in with money or whatever, and that way they can just run stuff on the ground. Because one of the biggest things for the operator is I want to be able to make it to where you can do simple things, like you can switch out your weapons, an operator. You can drive vehicles, an operator. You can like do very basic recruitment to have units follow you and add them to your squad, and you can do orders, like in SWAT 4, for example. So, like, that's why when we get to the operator, like after we do the CERC and the doctrine stuff, we're going to be doing the operator for like a month on its own, where it's going to be looking at all the stuff we learned from CPO, that little like prototype we made, and being like, okay, let's take everything that we've learned, and now let's basically port it over to Cepheus and make improvements. You know, did that answer his question?
I'm assuming so.
Basically, because like you figure, I guess you could say it's like a Warzone mode, but it's more so it's like you and your friends waging a war against the infected. So it'd be like instead of buying a bunch of assaults, you're telling your friends to get off of I don't know Call of Duty and come join your game and play it and basically make your operator, join the game, level up your operator over persistent games, and make him stronger, and basically just kind of like help fight the war or whatever, or help plan things out, or scout out neighborhoods, or like stuff like that. Basically, like that's where I want to get the operator to, where it's like this really really cool like co-op. Like I feel like operator isn't really gonna fire on all cylinders until we get to co-op. Because that's gonna be like, okay, like now you can have teams of people that are like Call of Duty Battlefield squads that are just running around the map, and then you can keep eyes on them. You can bring them logistics. If they need help, you can have a Chinook come and drop in a bunch of backup for them. If they're like on your Discord and they're like, hey, we're getting overrun and like, like Grid 2, can you send like reinforcements? Then RTS players would immediately jump in and start bringing over helicopters, or start sending like convoys of Hummers over. So like that's basically the goal, is kind of building it towards that direction of just like this ultimate sandbox for you and your friends to just kind of like simulate how you're going to take on the Pangu virus. Anyhow, what's up next?
Alright, Scully's been patiently waiting with their hand up, so we'll bring them in.
Oh yeah, I have seen his hand up for a while.
Yep.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, mate. It's a really, really silly thing. By the way, awesome game. Love it.
Thank you.
I think you guys have literally created something that, like, mate, I'm an old school gamer. I've been playing like since Red Alert came out, when PCs were invented. You know what I mean? So all my mates, we've all been craving this kind of Red Alert kind of game, like platform. You know?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's been a long time coming. There's a lot of games out there that kind of simulate it, but what you guys have created right here I'm telling you now, it's golden. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
I've just got one silly question.
Yeah, sure.
Which is really annoying for me personally. Is like the spotlights. Why can't you point them in any direction and let them cross over each other? Why
I'll tell you. Okay.
annoying. That is so annoying. I'm like, seriously, dude. If I was I'd want to put floodlights all over the whole area so I could see them all. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, no, I completely agree with you. So, you know what? Let me put that. I think that. Let me. I'm gonna put this on a list again because you figure that just kind of got dropped by the wayside again. Like, so it's a technical thing where essentially
It's small. It's tiny.
yeah.
It's,
So
it's really annoying. It's like, dude, I've got zombies coming to me. Why can't I put 5 floodlights in that direction?
no, you're right. No, you're absolutely right. So the issue is that basically the Unreal Engine handles dynamic lights. If you want to do a test, get like 8 assaults, and face them towards each other, and then turn on their flashlights, and then turn on your FPS counter. What basically happens is that the engine hates overlapping dynamic lights. So the more you cross the beams, the more it multiplicatively like kills your frame rate. So we did that. Yeah, we did that to basically save players from like having save files where like they had the lighting how they wanted, but their frames would be like astronomically low because after you cross like 2 or 3 lights, you're starting to lose like 10 frames. Now, mind you, they haven't found a technical way of fixing this in Unreal Engine 5 yet. There's only one engine that's fixed this, and it's I think it's CryEngine is the only one that has it, and Lumberyard. But I'm gonna put it on the list as something that one of our technical artists can look into, and he's free maybe, because I'm wondering if we could do something with the missives, or we could do something with the Fog of War, or we can fake lighting. So like that's something that basically we need to kind of come back to. I'm really glad that you actually mentioned that because I wasn't really sure if people were still like accepting of that or they just were just like, oh, this is so stupid.
It's not. I mean, you've got all this silly stuff like you could put cones down, you could put a sign down, you can put barbed wire up, you can build a wall, you can do this, that, the other. But then when you put a spotlight up, it goes, no, you can't do that. Why? Because that one's touching it right on the corner of the apex, and you're like, really? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what you've done with the flares, when you get a unit to put up a flare, the graphics on that, beautiful. Absolutely amazing. It's shocking. It's like, wow, I was actually taken back by it. I was like, wow, that's really good. I'll just do it for the fun of it.
I love that flare.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's just amazing. And even the vehicles have got lights and stuff like that, and you can turn them on and off and stuff like that. I mean, it's like the detail is absolutely brilliant. You've nailed it. But
thank you.
I just never got why you can't put floodlights up. And I even suggested, why don't you have a pillar like you have in when you drive into a dock or to a warehouse area or something like that, where they've got a singular pole with a diameter of lighting that lights up that entire area. You know what I mean? Silly things like that. I mean, that to me is just normal. That's what you would do. It's perfect. But I mean, what you've done with the game so far is absolutely beautiful, but then you're failing on silly stuff like that, and I'm like, seriously, dude, it's a spotlight. Why can't I put it that way?
No, I get it. No, I get it. It's one of those things where it's basically just. I actually just already messaged our technical artist to see if there's been any improvements. So I've already I messaged him just now. Actually, he's probably listening to the AMA right now, rolling in his bed. But because like you figure, I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you.
Beautiful. Do you know what I mean? Like the flares and stuff like that is absolutely beautiful, and then you fail on something simple like that, and I'm like, seriously, dude, it's a spotlight. Seriously.
No, I agree. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, we need to. Okay, we'll try and see. Yeah, let me see if we can get something worked into the CERC doctrine area. So, like, what I would say is, Give us a month or so, I would say. When we get to the CERC doctrine stuff, let me see if I can do some research or if my technical artist can do some research to where we can find some kind of way of giving you guys better lighting. Because I think the compromise would be is to figure out some kind of fake AOE lighting that gives the impression that it's lighting, but it's not like dynamic. It's just like it's just making the area bright. I don't know. We have to kind of figure out some technical way of doing it, or a missive.
The flashlights on the soldiers individually is absolutely beautiful. The way they run and stuff, it goes with them.
It's the same one that we use for the spotlight,
It's amazing.
but yeah, it's the same thing we use for the spotlight. The problem is that you figure if you want to see an example of why we don't allow it, cross a couple of beams of the flashlights, like line up a bunch of units across from each other, turn on the assault and flashlights, and then look at your frame rate. You'll notice that depending on your hardware, you'll get a dip because it's all the lights are like trying to like they're crossing the beams and they're trying to do mathematical calculations in real time to figure out. Yeah,
I've
so
got a 1060 6 gig card.
oh,
I max it out. I literally I will turn the units up to 200. I will literally say max everything.
oh my God.
Yeah, and do you know what? It works fine for about 3 hours, and then it's better in slow motion mode.
Oh yeah, no, because like you figure 200 pop, I can't. Like I know there was a suggestion at one time, and then we have to get to other questions. I know there was a suggestion at one time is that people wanted to be able to configure CERC, infected, civilian, and dynamic civilian pops on like a slider. So then that way they could cater the game to where if they wanted to give the infected more pop and the CERC more pop, they could, and then that way they could turn off other aspects of gameplay, so that way they can play it in the way they wanted. So I know that's something else that we were basically kind of we kind of put on our wish list of basically something to do, where there's like some kind of like Stellaris level slider where you can configure like every group's population, so you could just kind of get the game that you're looking for out of it, out of your session rather. But yeah, I hear you.
First time I played this game, I played it on the normal level
Yeah.
as default, and I absolutely hated the stupid worm things that go on the ground. I couldn't stand that, and the big monkey things that come at you, whatever they're called.
The juggernauts.
And mate, and then I realised I snagged it right off on the. I had a right go at you guys, and I said, "You've got a beautiful game here, but you ruined it with these two stupid things." And the Raven thing, what the? I just had enough. But then I realised that you've actually got the options in there to turn it off, and please keep that.
Oh no, we're keeping this. We're keeping this. So I actually have a question. Why do you hate the Leviathan? I'm curious. So tell me why you hate the Leviathan and the Juggernaut, so I can write this down in my notes.
Well, it was just the fact that you're playing a normal game, as in you're building a base and defending yourself, and the natural defense for yourself is to defend. So you will create your own bubble that's secure to actually do that, and then go offensive from that point. And the fact is that you couldn't do that, because once I'd set up a perimeter that I knew where they were coming from, because they're coming across the bridge, I thought, all right, fuck off zombies, I'm going to kill you. All of a sudden, this white thing that starts graphically coming across the bottom of my screen, I'm like, what's going on? And all I know is that it pops up, and then all of a sudden zombies pop up, and it was like, really? Oh, now I'm getting attacked from underground. Great. How do I defend from that?
So it sounds like it's basically a problem. We didn't do a good enough job explaining, like preparing players for it. So like I know that like yeah, because I know for some people it's like literally traumatizing the first time a Leviathan comes out of the ground, when they're just like, oh fuck. Yeah. Yeah, but like you figure, but the thing is that once you figure out how to counter it, then you're good. But it's like for the first time, it's so overwhelming because just like you built your base, everything's going good, maybe things are going moderately okay, and then Greg pops out of nowhere, takes out everything. You're like, fuck this game.
Yeah, I think it's because traditionally the gaming, the way that it's the mechanics that you've got of the game is beautiful because of the fact that it's realistic, in the sense that all the troops, the vehicles, the armory, the weaponry, the ammo, everything is the fuel. You've even got the fuel option. Do you know what I mean? That's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. I know you can turn it off and on, and I've played it off, and it's boring after a while because you just kick their ass. But
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
That's yeah.
That option, and that is absolutely fucking brilliant to me.
Well, one thing that yeah. Okay. No, I dig it. Well, hold on. We gotta get to other questions. But I really do appreciate your honest feedback. We're gonna.
Awesome, dude. Awesome. It's absolutely awesome.
The team appreciates your kind words. Like you figure, we work so hard on this. One thing that I would say is that just to kind of add to that for people who just are asking the questions is custom game settings will be expanded upon as the game develops, as new things are added. Because like I was telling Duravar the other day, is that I see pandemic mode is basically like you can kind of customize it to your whims of the experience that you want to get out of the game. So, like one thing we're going to push going on is making it to where like, hey, like you could have presets. So when the custom game settings start to have tabs and sections, you can configure health, speed, damage of individual infected. Because like I want to make it to where like you can set it to like, oh, they can only walk, they can only run, but you increase all their health by this amount, that amount, decrease their health. If you want, like, who are we to get in the way of you guys having fun when it comes to like customizing the whims of the game? And we don't want to rely on modders to do that. That's become the norm. So if we can externalize or customize, make some of these settings so you guys can share them as presets to get more value out of the game, to get more, like you just want to have a chill game. Maybe you just want to play it like classic Resident Evil 1, where everyone walks, and everyone has like 500 health to compensate for the slower speed. Have fun. You know what I mean? Like, so that's the biggest thing, is trying to bake those systems into the game and allow you guys to have those kind of control sets. And we've done that. We've made really good like moves towards that direction. Like we have I don't know if this we did a really good job talking about this when we picked the next question, but we have a system that we wrote that's custom that allows people to go in and essentially like they can make like a preset. You can save it and then you can send it to people. Now, when we start to push modding more, we're going to add that to like a website where you can basically like share it on Discord, you can share it on a website, and then basically you can essentially like send like your insanity runs. You can send like your like themed Resident Evil runs or whatever the heck to people, and then like they can try your settings. And that way, as the game gets more and more complicated in terms of the settings that you can tweak, for people that just want to have all the work done for them, they just want to, play like a theme mode like this, they can. And it doesn't. And then on top of that, it doesn't take a savant, like someone like the really complicated for modding. It's just literally going into the GUI, changing all the settings, type in the name of the preset, save, go into the folder. You can put a picture with the same exact name in there, and then it will show that picture as a mod when you're giving people your presets. So basically, like those are like systems that are in right now, but we haven't like either done it to mod.io or Steam Workshop, whatever direction we're going to go into. I'm thinking mod.io because then it works for Epic, it works for Xbox Store, it just works for everyone. So that way it's platform neutral, and you just log in with your Steam account, and it just works. So you don't have to do anything. You have to make a new account. So like these are things that we're all thinking of after we get all these major line items out of the way to kind of enrich your guys' gameplay and give you guys more options on how do you want to play the game, not how I would want to play it. Because again, the big thing is we give you the sandbox, we give you the tools. Good luck. You have to take it. Good luck. So anyhow, Derivar, let's pick some more questions and let's start to roll it up.
Yep. Okay, so AmA has specified the FPS infected or like a lieutenant that the player controls a custom lieutenant with abilities like Chelsea. That's what I meant.
He's talking about playing as the infected, am I right?
Yeah.
So that's on the roadmap right now, but it's not going anywhere. It's just there in the back of my head in terms of like something that we need to technically achieve. By making some of the changes that we've made this year, we've started to set the framework of making the infected playable. So it's one of those things where it's like it's going to happen. It's just I can't give you an ETA where you're going to be able to play as the infected. But yes, what you're saying would be the plan, is that the lieutenants would be your heroes. I guess you could say your winters that basically you can build. But instead of being like an operator, they're just like preset ones. You know, it's one of those things where it's like when we get to that era, I'm going to say that playing as the infected will probably be 2025. 2025 at this point. You figure, we'll do everything on the roadmap. We'll do the campaign. We'll figure out the faction stuff if possible in 2024 towards the end. And then at that point, we'll leave early access at the end of 2024. And then in 2025, it's going to be post-launch, 2026 post-launch content. It's going to be looking at what do people want and prioritize it based off of demand. So, like you figure it's one of those things where, again, it's going to be an evolving game over, like, years. So, yeah, just know that is on my list. Like, it's not going anywhere. Anyhow, what else do we got for questions?
Okay, so we got... I'm not sure how to say that name, but they've got their hand up.
Okay. Oh,
Hello?
I cannot say his name either. Hello. What's up?
Hey, I joined a little late, and I have a question about Chelsea
Hit me with it.
and possibly having a game type without her.
Oh, yeah, you were the one that asked it in general chat yesterday, weren't you?
Yes, I
Yeah,
was.
you missed. Yeah, I recognize your icon, your symbol. Yeah, no, we literally covered this earlier, but I will give you a really quick drive-by. Is that I basically opened the floor to it. There were multiple people that actually asked your question earlier in YouTube chat and in normal chat. So what I want to do now is I want to put it to a community vote. I'm going to put a poll up on Ping in the announcements channel, and then basically just see like, hey, like, give me the numbers. Show me basically this is something that people want to do, and if there is, would you be willing to basically like leave your Discord information for me to kind of contact you guys and maybe have you, help me balance it, help basically play test it, because it's going to be a different mode. And like I said, the best we do the vote, we would see what people say, and then from there, the best time to implement it would be right before co-op. Because that's when we're going to be going on like our little sabbatical to basically, update the game code, get it ready for co-op, convert the gas, all the other fun stuff. So it'd be like one of the things on icing on the cake we can kind of give you guys, because there won't be any major patches for probably 1 or 2 months while we're just kind of working on our small little areas. And that would be roughly around the end of Q1 of next year, is basically what I would argue. Because like so we did cover it, and hang tight, we're going to have a poll for that. Did you have any other follow-up questions to add to it?
I didn't think of anything else.
Sorry, I have a cough. Yeah, no, perfectly good. Okay, well then, yeah, you're good to go then, I guess.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. All right. Any other questions, Duravar, to wrap it up? Let's wrap it up. And what time is it? Is it 6? My God, we've been going for an hour and 30 minutes. You want to go for, what's your schedule look like, Duravar? Are you running out of time?
No, my schedule's free.
Okay, we'll run it for a little bit longer until it becomes bare in terms of questions. What else do we got? Anyone else want to throw their questions into the ring?
We've got 2 from the YouTube chat. So Blackhawk asks, I have a question. Are you going to add makeshift civilian technical vehicles?
We're saving those for the anarchists. What we do, so what we might do as a compromise, and I'm not really sure when we can kind of fit this in technically again, is for the dynamic civilian groups, I would like to give them some of the vehicles in the world, because there was an idea, and the idea was that basically we wanted to add dynamic clutter to the map. So we wanted to take away all the vehicles, we wanted to take away all the dead bodies, and we wanted to make it to where basically as zones basically became more infected, more chaos ensued, more traffic jams would occur. Dynamically, where like you'd leave and come back maybe like 20 minutes later, and then you'd see like cars here and whatever. So we wanted to kind of go in the direction of making the world more dynamic. So every time you played, it wasn't the exact same assortment of everything on the map. And then on top of that, we wanted to make it to where the civilians could use some of those cars. That is a wish list item. It's not on the roadmap. It's not on the list. But it's basically one of those things where it's like, I want to add it, because then if we can figure that out sooner, then it's a stepping stone for factions to reuse that AI to be able to, like, kind of help fill out the world and give it more volume. But I'm gonna say that that's a really good suggestion. It's on our wish list right now. What else do we got?
Board asks, I got a question. Why does the infected spread so rapidly?
Because they're infected. I don't know. So, like, they want to kill everyone. Okay, so ultimately, I'm just joking. We have struggled finding the right pace of infection spreading. Sometimes it's too fast, sometimes it's too slow. And because they're dynamic, where they kind of go to the whims of the geography, some areas seem really, really fast, some areas seem very, very slow, because there's a certain minimum amount of infection mounds and things they need to build to occupy that zone completely. And then you factor in dynamic civilian groups, because they can slow down the spread of an infection pretty substantially if they're waging a successful war in an area of the map. So in some play sessions, it goes completely perfect. In some, it's great. And then, perfect, terrible, and then somewhere in the middle. I'm sorry. And it's one of those things where we need to kind of find a way of normalizing it. And I think we're going to struggle with that for a little bit longer. Now, it might be one of those things where if you could record your play session or give us a save file and kind of have us look at it, we could theoretically figure out what happened in your play session and figure out the things we can do to improve it. If it, like, you can make the argument that this is just unnaturally fast and you have no time as a player to build, to counter, that would be the best way forward to help us solve the issue. Because you figure, we can only make sweeping changes when people say things are too fast or too slow. We need to see, like, particulars, and it might be, this is a theory of mine, it might be predispositioned to certain areas because of how small they are, that it gives that it just naturally is faster. It might seem faster when she spawns on Western Treasure Island, or it is faster because all the zones are so close to each other and they're so small. It might seem slower on Angel because all the zones are so large, and every zone only has so many interconnected pieces, and they can only spread from one tile to another. Unless birds are involved, or the Leviathan, generally they can't spread and jump on hopscotch tiles. They function more like a civilization game, where they have to jump from grid to grid to grid to grid to grid via connecting nodes. So it's one of those things where it's like, see if you can give us more data. Give us more information on how you feel, why you feel it's so fast. Anything would help us. So that way we can look at it and be like, oh, maybe we should consider redrawing these lines, or maybe we should put some corrective logic in smaller zones where they have a couple of handicaps added, and then in larger zones those handicaps are removed. Like that kind of stuff. I know that I was talking to Derek last night, and we were talking about making it to where they don't build as many infection pods in one zones, in like single zones, because we were noticing there was a bug or inconsistency where they would build like 20 to 30 infection mounds in one zone, and it made it insufferable to basically reclaim that zone because you had to play what's that game where you hit the thing?
What's that game when you hit the thing?
Help me out there, Var. Like at the carnival, you hit it, and then another one comes up, and you hit that.
Whack-a-mole?
Yes, it was like whack-a-mole. God damn it. It'd be like whack-a-mole. So it was just kind of... Screw you. I just had a brain fart. I was just like, what is that? I can't think of it. But it made it like whack-a-mole, where it was just like whack-a-zed, like in YouTube what they're saying, where it was just kind of like you can't get a 0% contagion to really like know that area is clear without like just bombing everything to oblivion. So it's just like, okay, that's something we need to look at. Because that's annoying. So that's something that I think it's getting worked on right now as we speak. Because there's going to be probably another patch either tonight or on Monday that basically fixes even more performance issues and fixes that and a couple other things that we've earmarked for the mortar. But anyhow, I digress. Back to you, Durvar.
I mean, like, the infection can't spread throughout the city too quickly if there is no city.
Oh my god, he always does this. He's like, just burn everything.
Bomb
He's like,
them!
He's like basically like that Muppet where it's like there's fire everywhere. That's Durvar. Where it's like,
This is fine.
yeah, this is fine. Where it's just like, let's just burn everything down. There's no infection. There's no civilians. Technically, you're right, but everyone's gonna hate you.
If you erase everything, if you like play it like the Dominion in StarCraft, just not give a fuck.
Oh yeah, when we play StarCraft, he just plays Dominion. All we hear is Minx yelling at us.
Yeah, basically.
I love his voice.
I do not care about my troops. You are expendable. You are replaceable.
Oh god. Yeah, no, it is. Oh yeah, we got people raising their hand though. See who we can grab real fast so we can wrap this up. Oh, there's bugs.
We got kill and can't kill.
Thank you. I was gonna ask if the feature where you could auto-target civilians will come back.
That's already in there.
Oh.
Yeah, you can.
That.
So what you do? Okay, so it's slightly changed, and you can tell me if you think if you think that it's a little. You get to go and try it and tell me what you think. So basically, it's in the civilian administration structure. So the idea is you build that in a zone, and that you set your policies towards the civilians in that zone, whether it be to kill them on sight, to basically, like bring them in and help them, whatever. But then there's also the aspect that if you just want to go to war with everyone, because generally just starting to kill any civilian is going to basically put you at war with everyone, is basically you can just right-click on a civilian, and then your CERC units will shoot them. And basically at that point, essentially, like, you're going to just be mowing them all down.
I see. I just feel like it's a little bit obscure where you need to build a building that's supposed to be, like, used to also extract civilians to kill literally everyone in a zone.
Well, it kind of came from the idea that people wanted to be able to control how they interacted with certain civilian groups, whether it be like people that were coming from this province or people that were coming from that province. Because the issue we were running into is that you would sometimes, like, I guess you could say, kill this one person, and then it would just shoot everyone. So people were asking for a way to basically make it to where they could single out groups. But I guess at the end of the day, once you start killing one group, everyone's going to hate you. So you're going to be at war with all of them eventually. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to put that down as a note, and I'm going to basically regroup on that on Monday. Civilian killing. And I'm assuming that's based off of the idea you're playing more like Blackwatch?
No, I just like killing civilians.
Oh my god. At least you're honest.
I am quite violent.
Okay, well that's basically Blackwatch. From
Right.
Prototype.
Thank you for hearing me out.
Sure thing.
Have a good day.
Mm-hmm. Alright, what else have we got?
Let's do it straightforward.
Hey, I mean everyone does it at times.
Alright, we got distortion, I think? Hello!
Microphone. Hello.
Hey, what's up?
So, I'm a first responder in the United States, and during natural disasters, emergencies, so on and so forth, we use fire departments, hospitals, police departments as centers for evacuation or can't think of the word, reintegration, I guess would be the right word. The civilian administration building is great. However, if you don't have one built in a zone, at some point would we be able to garrison a police station or a dedicated building with CERC units to act as a civilian administration building?
To be honest, we really didn't have any plans of that. Everything was being built around the civilian administration structure as kind of like their way of opening up, like however they want it, however you want to basically communicate with the civilians in that group, like almost like an embassy. Is there some reason why you're pushing for that? Or is it more of the realism aspect of it?
No, it's so sometimes I'll drop units, secure a neighborhood, build a wall around it, fine. But a juggernaut or a leviathan will end up ruining that FOB, and the civilian administration will just shut down or not be operable because the infected will just keep killing civilians. So if you don't have the resources or room to build a civilian administration structure in an area that might be too inundated with infected, why not just be able to garrison a building?
Huh.
Until you clear out a small bubble and you can rebuild and or build a civilian administration building.
I am not sure about that because you figure, see, in my mind, like I think that's one of those cases where like you have to take the loss and you basically have to like if you allowed it to be overran, you basically have to like retake it, pacify the zone, or even just build a makeshift one, turn on martial law, because martial law will stop the spread of infection in the zone regardless. And then that way it'll give you time to basically pacify the infection, turn off martial law, and then reinstitute the rules that basically whatever you were doing in that zone. So in my mind, I see that as like an acceptable loss. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, and I'm not. Yeah, no, and I'm not trying to criticize. Just an idea for if you're trying to evacuate as many people as possible, to make some more resources so you can send, make more money so you can build more buildings and retake the zone.
Yeah. Because I mean, you figure they'll let her. I don't think we have a couple of hollowed out structures, but they are mostly grocery stores and stuff like that, and they were mostly earmarked for like the factions whenever we came back to them. We don't. I don't think we have a single. We have to add a police station in Treasure Island. On the lower section, I know that. There's a couple of edits that have to happen to the map to get it ready for the campaign. Regardless, because we're going to be adding a police station, but I'm not sure about that. Like, let me think about that in terms of basically your suggestion, because I'm not. Yeah, I have to marinate on that, but it's not a bad idea. Any other questions that you had?
No, that's about it. Thank you for your time.
Alrighty. Alright, what else do we got, Durvar?
Okay, I think that's it.
Well,
I don't think anyone else has their hand up. I'm not seeing any more questions in the text chat on the Discord, and I don't think I see any more questions in the YouTube chat.
LED, I can't say his name, has a question. And then, I don't see anything on YouTube. Let me check YouTube again.
Terminal asks about the bridge issue.
Bridge issue? What's the bridge issue?
Not quite sure what the bridge issue is. What bridge issue are you talking about?
Oh, it's a bug.
Choose the one fire on the one. I'm thinking Terminal's talking about that one. Bridge is unable to be destroyed with a carpet bomb on latest update.
All the bridges or just some ones?
And let me click on the.
Okay. That will be something that basically we'll have to look at outside of this, so we don't hold it up.
Yeah.
What else do we have? Sorry.
Just looking for more. I don't think there's any more.
Okay. So, I guess I'll give you two one last look, and then we'll wrap it up from there. Let's see. There was a question about basically the infected getting more units. There are more units being concepted for the infected. Right now, we're on the finishing touches of an infected guardian for Chelsea. The next one's going to be a chimera dog. And then we'll be looking at a infected whale, a sperm whale. So right now there's like 3 that are basically earmarked for the infected, just to give them some more transport capabilities and attack capabilities for the armor, and to basically be able to also counter air units with the chimera dog. And then, there's a question with turrets. The turrets, that was kind of handled in the letter to the producer, is that we're going to be redoing the turrets of a newer model, and bigger, kind of similar to like the idea of prototype, where they're larger and they're just kind of like those really big ones that you see basically on like a Navy ship. So we're going to be going through and basically like revising those and making them to where they're just like a little platform you can basically essentially just kind of throw in there. Okay, well, I guess that's all the questions that we have there. Okay, let's go ahead and wrap it up, Durvar.
Okie dokie. Well, thank you all for coming along to this developer podcast AMA. If you'd like to support the game any further, we have a Patreon that you, and we have oh my, I'm having a brain fart.
The Discord pledge system.
That's it. We have a pledge system, and we also have additional content. Yeah.
It's one of those days for everyone, I swear. I'm so sick right now. And then Durvar is just like, what's going on?
What is reality?
Yeah, but legitimately, yeah. So if you want to help, like support us, feel free to check those out. It's on Discord. The links are on there. We do have the DLCs. Those do help out for the skins to basically help support development. They're entirely self-funded. So you figure we pretty much just work with our day jobs to essentially just do whatever we can do every day, and just try and hit this out of the park. Let's see what else is there. And we'll be basically having a new schedule coming up soon for basically resuming the weekly or bi-weekly little like podcast that we do, where we basically just kind of go through the week, what happened that week. We show videos from our like development SDK. We basically will show like what's going on in like like playing the game or whatever. So that's something we're going to be looking into basically picking back up when we do that. Who keeps pinging me? I will have to give you a password for that. I'll give you a password for that. We just reset those. And then you also get, what was it? I have to go look to see what the pledge levels are, but I'm pretty sure you get a key for CPO too, if you want to help like playtest the operator in its early form before it comes over to Cepheus. Yeah, okay.
Actually, that's one thing that needs to be covered. Can you make the unit skins purchased in the regular game apply to experimental?
Huh? Say that again?
Can you make the unit skins purchased in the regular game apply to experimental?
You have to copy them over manually. For some reason, DLCs don't. I don't know how to do that, because you figure like what I've told people to do in the past is that if you copy the DLCs from the base Cepheus Protocol to the experimental branch, it will work. But because of different app ID, I don't think the DLCs will carry over because Valve doesn't expect us to be using their beta test in the way they were using it. Sorry. So the simplest way again is just to copy it over. You copy it over, your DLCs will show up. So you just go to the base game of Cepheus Protocol, and you got the DLC folder. You just copy it over to experimental, and then just launch the game, and your skins should be there. But I mean, I would never really recommend that you play full sessions on experimental, because experimental is well just that. Like, here be dragons, in terms of things breaking at times, you know. I'll have to get him a key. Oh no, the chat.
Hang on, I'm just explaining experimental to Hellrider.
Oh no, you're fine. Okay, let me see. How are you guys liking that new mortar, by the way? Anyone try out the new mortar that we put in over the last week? The auto firing and all the new stuff? Okay, good. That's good to hear. It seems like everyone's loving it. Because the auto fire is something that was just so needed. Like, legitimately, we put that in there, and it was just one of those things where it was just like, I don't know how we even, like, put it in there without the auto fire to begin with. Because, like, it is day and night in terms of the effectiveness of that unit. Like, it puts in work. And if you have the logistics to support the money to basically keep buying an ammo, it will just constantly help secure your lines, because every time there's line of sight in that bubble, it will just open up. And then with the new fire modes, you can basically tell it, hey, I want you to only like fire your mortar at special infected or structures. So you can literally just have it, and then it does that little like indicator where it'll just tell you like when it's about to shoot, so you know like to move your units out of the way for friendly fire's sake. I think that was a really, really positive change that came to the game in the last couple weeks. I know why you missed those, Colin. They were OP. Those mortar goddamn mass sites were OP. I used to watch videos where people would build like 20 of them in the baseball stadium, 20 to 30 of them, and then literally just click on all of them, select one thing, hit a button, and then the map just goes deleted. The infected got deleted. Well, the white phosphorus is already in Arrogant. It's just a matter of fixing the visual effects. Because we did our technical artist did a whole new, like, pass on all the airstrikes. And those are going to be coming in. You can find them in the announcements channel. They're kind of, like, super backlogged if you really want to look. But if you look through the announcements, you'll see, like, these really, really cool, like, airstrikes that were redone. And then, yeah, we also redid the AC-130 one, too.
Okay.
Did you finish explaining it, Dervar?
No, he's saying premium gets him access to the dev build. Just
Well, I have to give him the dev password.
Yeah.
It just basically means that whenever we put like a dev pass, basically generally what that means is that you'll get like experimental for normal builds, like several hours or days for everyone else. When I'm testing it and other developers are testing it, basically you'll just get it like you won't even get a patch note. You'll just basically get like a random update every day or every couple of days, where it's like, oh, we're testing this feature, we're testing that mechanic, or like this is going on, blah blah blah, and then you'll just that's generally how that works. Sorry. Scully keeps requesting to talk, so I guess let's just grab him real fast. Screw it. Hello.
Hello, mate. Sorry, I'm back again.
Okay, what's up?
The white phosphorus, the phosphorus thing, that's really bad animation. It's awful. I don't like that.
The old one, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm playing the beta version, whatever you guys have got.
Oh yeah. That was old. There's a whole new one. Let me see if I can fish it out for you. Hold on. Let's see. Yeah, because it's not the effects that we did for the airstrikes. They're
Yeah.
passable. The ones that are in the engine right now, and that's why part of our pass, like, because the biggest thing in my mind was getting all the big things done, and then spending at the end time to just kind of polish the visuals and make the game look really, really sexy. And now we're getting to that point where it's like we really need to push the visuals, and we need to
Yeah.
push the performance and everything else. So yeah, I hear it. Let me see if I can find that, and I'll post it in the podcast channel for you. Give me a second. Let me pop him down, and then let me do a search, and I'll post that so people know what I'm talking about. In announcements. Now let me just search for airstrike. Oh, here they are. That wasn't too bad. So yeah, here's the new white phosphorus and like the newer airstrikes. I'll post it in a podcast channel, and then I'm gonna post it on YouTube as a link to Discord. And basically, essentially, those are just like videos of like the new airstrikes that are coming in. Like there's the strafing run. There's the white phosphorus for the second one. It's really gorgeous. And then the new models we got for the bombs themselves. And then the carpet bombing run. And then we have like little particle effects, Niagara stuff that just kind of goes off and permeates and just, yeah, like there's a lot more moving parts in those airstrikes. Yeah, that's pretty much that. I guess we're just sitting around chilling now, Derivar. Now it's just
Yeah,
a
but
casual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the best part of it. This is what I love about this.
Yep. Oh, by the way, did you ever finish installing World of Warcraft?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna try World of Warcraft. We're gonna try and make a guild and basically just play that casually on the public Discord. See if anyone else wants to join us. I'm waiting for Derivar to finish his like anniversary period or like for World of Warcraft and make sure he likes it before I start playing it again with him. because then if he likes it, then I'm gonna sub it, and then we're gonna play World of Warcraft on and off. Just play the new expansion that's coming out next month. It's horrible. Hey, he's playing Batman memes. I love Batman. Yeah. Fuck. Which one is that? Is that the? Yeah, that's the animated one. Yeah, I love that one. Sorry. But yeah, let's see. I know, right, Elodie? That's the dream. Is basically just because the biggest limiter for us is just the money. Is ultimately, like, that's the biggest ultimate limiter for us. It's just being able to have enough money to where we can hire enough people of the right skill sets to just basically come in and do things that basically could just specialists to do some things like improving the pathfinding a little bit more than I'd like to. Being able to write custom like things for like navigation so we can increase the amount of infected that we can have on screen at once, like World War Z. It's like things where it's like otherwise it'll just take a lot of time for us to do on our own because we're a very small team of 5 developers. And you figure it's like 2 programmers, where sometimes I'm not even programming because I'm doing project direction, money, like business crap, all the other stupid admin. So it's like I don't even get the program all the time anymore. So it's like, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, it'd be so much nice. And yeah, what? Wait, what?
Handling all the important jobs.
I guess, it's whatever. But it's like one of those things where it's like, I think co-op will be a good point for us. Because I think that when co-op comes around, it will be like, I guess you can say like a force multiplier for basically just kind of making the game become more popular, getting more people on board, people are more accommodating, because then they can play it with their friends in terms of how well, because again, the game can be very overwhelming to the first time user, because there's no tutorial. So you come in and you're like, what do I do? How do I play this game? What's the right way? What's the wrong way? And it can be very overwhelming. But if you're playing it with like 3 or 4 other people, and you're like, okay, you're in charge of this, you're in charge of that, I'm doing military, whatever, then it's a little bit more manageable when you fail or when you succeed. So it's just like, yeah, I think that co-op will basically be the thing that kind of helps us get the more resources that we're looking for, to just kind of get it out there more. Because again, I think the game will be more popular at that point. Is my theory. But again, it's about getting it to the point where it's ready for co-op. Because in my mind, it's like we got to have the framework, the code, everything perfect. Because you don't want to be in a situation where like a little, like what happened to Rust, where they kind of did the game and then they had to redo the game. Like I think 2 years after being in early access and rewrite the entire game from the ground up. I don't want to do that. Because you figure like things that you learn in the beginning aren't necessarily the best ways of going about things. Best way of going about things later on, and then you learn the hard way through game design that like we should have did this, we should have did that, we should have like X, Y, and Z, and then you look back at your code base and you're like, oh, we're gonna have to rip out this. So it's like it's better to do it now and get it to where everything's perfect, so then that way you're not stuck inside of an ecosystem or a game development kit that basically is just held together by gum and glue and like it's a bad foundation. It's not even fun to work in. So I think that's been a big thing. And mind you, Rust is a beautiful game. I love Rust. So yeah, while they had to go through those trials and tribulations, and I think every development team has to go through their own trials and tribulations. No, there's no team that's just gonna be just perfect in terms of basically that. So I think that's one of those things where it's just kind of like everyone kind of has their own journey. And are there some similarities? Absolutely. But there's going to be a lot of differences in terms of every road every development team takes. So it's fun. It's like going up a hill. You gotta pace yourself. For Corsairs question, that's basically on my Discord ping, is the A10 Thunderbolt got completely redone. The model and the airstrike effect itself. So it's one of those things where it's like when we do the Doctrine and the CERC stuff, we'll dedicate a couple of days to just switching them out and adding in the new VFX. So then that way you have a modern, yes. If you look at the link that I put on Halcyon Winds, the Discord link right above your question course there, that will take you to the new AC1 Thunderbolt. The Thunderbolt run, the new carpet bombing run, and the new napalm or incendiary airstrike basically. Let's see what else people are talking about.
Okay, so Terminal posted up a pretty good idea, and they wanted me to discuss it with you.
My body is ready.
So it was an idea of essentially taking over, say, the hospital, Elm Point Hospital, and putting a civilian center on it and converting it into the evacuation zone, and changing its look cosmetically.
It's not a bad idea. It's hardly not a bad idea. It's just one of those things in terms of scope. Because, it's like what I was talking about earlier, in terms of trying the best time to fit all this in here. So, on paper, all of those buildings are blueprints. They're prefabs. We made that conversion when we added populations, and when we made them clickable. So, they have the fundamentals to be made as special world buildings. We have the framework established to be able to make what they I forgot his name, but he was in earlier, the first responder guy that was basically talking about the police station thing, where it was basically technically it's possible, but it's one of those things where it kind of comes down to manpower and the roadmap, where it's I'm trying to be not add as much and add what is like the most important, what's the most severe, and then kind of push off these really great ideas for like post-launch or things to kind of look at, when things calm down and we're not as much of a time crunch and like we're not like because like I think in my mind after co-op is released, there's gonna be a lot of like what I guess you could say like a lot of pressure or like anxiety release where we can just kind of experiment more and try different things. Because you think we've been kind of saying we're gonna push co-op and trying to push and we've been trying to kind of get everything up to co-op done. That it's like I have to be careful how much we keep adding, otherwise we're pushing that co-op end goal even further away. So it's like not a bad idea, not against it. It's something I was thinking for the police thing where we didn't think about it. It's one of those things where it's like the community kind of has to talk to us and tell us like what they want, which you guys are doing. And then we have to basically figure out, can we do it, when we can do it, and what's the budget in terms of basically trying to implement those kind of things during the time constraints. So it's like, that's going on my list, but I can't tell you a definite when we could do it. Does that answer your question? What's that?
They also want to add turrets and stuff too.
Turrets? Huh?
They also want to add turrets to those buildings, I assume?
Oh. So, I'll just touch on this for anyway, because I know that it's basically one of those things that people have asked, and we have not budged, is that building on buildings. I know that you play Dying Light, we and Durvar and a bunch of other cats were playing Dying Light the other couple months ago. Was it Dying Light 2? I think it was?
Yeah, we were playing Dying Light 2.
And we were just looking at all the buildings, and we were just playing it, and we were just like, fuck. We're gonna have to make it where they can build on top of buildings, because like this actually is really cool. Where it was obvious that they built on top of these structures because it was really hard for the infected to get up there and like combat them. And then it kind of comes round circle where it's like one of those things where like I don't want to release that floodgate until we have a viable counter where it's like the infected can climb the buildings. So it's kind of like that, where it's like you're mentioning turrets on walls. I'm not talking like upgrading the buildings. I'm talking about being able to build stuff on the walls, on the buildings, being able to build buildings on the buildings, being able to build towns and camps and small little things on some of those rooftops that are open. And then being able to open up the gameplay with a Juggernaut can go rampage mode, jump onto the building, climb up the building, and say hello. Or the standard infected can have the intelligence enough to basically be able to find free set points and scurry up the building. And that's part of the thing where like we've intentionally restricted being able to build on buildings, and if you're able to do it in some cases it's a bug. And it's just one of those things where it's like you're gonna see us like I guess you could say opening up on more things that were restricted as more and more of the game kind of gets like baked in, because then we have more like technical ways of countering the player, we have more performance available to us, so we can compromise on certain things, so like it's kind of one of those things where like it might seem like I'm not like being able to implement a lot of your ideas right now, but it's like it's an order of operations thing where if like I add a bunch of stuff in preemptly, it's going to negatively affect other aspects of gameplay. So it's more so I need to like attack these things in these line items in order of operations, and then at that point, behind the scenes, by us doing these things and we sneaking in things, we've been able to slowly but surely just kind of work towards some of the things that you guys have been more vocal about. Yeah. So, yeah. Anything else you can think of, Durvar?
Not that I can think of. But AMA has got the clarification that they don't want turrets on top of the building. They want to upgrade the building to have points for turrets and lights and sensors.
The only structure where that's planned right now is the aircraft carrier. Yeah, we don't. I didn't really, yeah, because like the plan was is to basically make it to where we were gonna come up. It's still kind of like in limbo. Me and Dimitri have to get together and kind of bang our heads together for like a week probably on the turrets. We have to agree on a visual design because he's more realistic and I'm more gamey. So it's more of a constant hitting of heads in terms of realism versus what does the job in terms of gameplay aspect. So like we were basically experimenting with the idea of either having a weapons platform that you can customize or going exactly like the prototype turrets, where they were just enlarged, really like big, like converted Navy weapons. And then basically you could just put them wherever you want. To the extent of what we're planning, that's what we're gonna allow you to do at this moment. When it comes to like buildings and prefabs on them, where you can like put like preset turrets, that you'll have to build those instead. Anything else, Trevor?
No, not that I can think of.
What is that?
That's a drawing of what they want for the upgrade. That actually looks...
Is that for the hospital? The general idea?
The general idea for the new hospital. And it's not bad. It actually looks pretty decent.
Well, it gets the idea across. So
we'll have to think. We'll have to think about it and look at it and go over it and whatnot.
I'm not against it. It just comes down to time and resources, where it's like we're so over-inundated right now and behind on the roadmap that I want to deliver more and get more of the quality of life stuff in that we already have on the list, and then I want to put these on a wish list of like when we have the time, because like you figure it's a cool idea, and it makes more usage for like. Again, it kind of goes into what the previous cat was saying earlier, where it's like you're able to make usage of the facilities on the map. But I guess the only problem is that we'd have to figure out is how would the infection interact with it. Because it's like, it's implementing that, but it's the ripple effect in terms of basically like, can the infected damage it? When they damage it, do they just de-upgrade it? Because we don't have the tech to destroy buildings. So it's like one of those things where it's like, it's not just one thing, it's a series of things where it's like we put that in there, you can upgrade a structure now, but then we have to worry about like the interaction with all the other systems and the balance implications. So it's like, yeah, I'm gonna save that and I'm gonna come back to that because you figure that is an idea worth exploring. I think for like a DLC or like an expansion or like some kind of thing that we push in the future, where it's like a revamp, kind of like what Solaris does, where it's like they just kind of go back and they just take the mechanics of the systems of the world and they just kind of keep innovating, keep basically finding what people want and then just factoring it into the core game. Maybe. Yeah, anything else you can find, Durvar?
No, I think we can wrap it up now.
Okay, someone really wants to play World of Warcraft.
Actually, all the talk about StarCraft up here has got me wanting to play StarCraft. So.
God damn it. Okay, well I'm gonna have to find. I'm gonna have to find some Dayquil. Well, actually, I have to go take some Dayquil before we start playing, because my sore throat's coming back, and my headache is slowly creeping in, and my nose is terrible. So it's like I'm so glad that I wasn't coughing as bad as I was earlier this morning when we were on, because I would have had to mute my mic like even more aggressively. I've been trying to catch it. I'm sorry if you guys have heard me cough. I've been trying like I have a mute mic on my thing, so whenever I like try and like do it, I like fake myself out, and then sometimes I don't cough, and it's annoying. Evacuation bus. Where have I heard? I think people have mentioned that in the past, and it's like one of those things where it's like that would be a good idea for shuttling people between zones. Like you set a zone to like vacate from one zone to another. It's something that I want to kind of look into is like automated buses or things that kind of like move people. But again, it comes down to scope and time. Well, that's kind of like that's like a icing on the cake kind of thing. Right now, the features or the mechanics are serviceable and they work, where they can move people from zone to zone, and more of these like surface level, like immersion level things are things that are just gonna naturally come as we kind of get these things situated. Um, yeah, I get you guys are just kind of going to town with these ideas, and I love that. Just I ask for some patience and some understanding that we're a 5-man team, 5-person team, whatever, and that we will do things when we can, when when the budget constraints are right and everything else is working, and we're not trying to basically, like remove features or, not like mispromise on things. We're wanting to get everything that we said in there. It just takes time, and I know that can be very, very boring and what's the word? I guess you could say just easy to be like, oh, they're just saying that they're not going to actually add it. So, yeah, it's just one of those things where just give us some time, give us some patience, and we're gonna hit all these points. Okay, well then I will wrap it up there. Thank you guys so much for coming. Me and Dervar are gonna go run away. Terminal, we play co-op pretty much on StarCraft 2. He will not play 3v3s with me. Like, I tried to get him to play ranked. He will not play ranked. Like, that's the only problem. If you want to join us on co-op, or if you want to join us on StarCraft, the only problem is that you'd have to get one or the other into a play session. Because we can't like, I Arrogant Worm installed StarCraft recently to play with us, and we had to break his heart. Because we were like, all we play is StarCraft 2 co-op. I love 2v2, 3v3, 1v1s. I've gotten the platinum, on these. But the problem is that you figure, like, Dervar doesn't like PvP on those games. It depends on the game, mind you. But it's also just because, like, it's like when we were playing Company Heroes 3, and it was just kind of like, even if I'm losing, I'm just like, fuck it. I'm going to take them with me. I'm going to make their victory so painful. But, like, losing in those game modes is just demoralizing to some people. They're like, fuck this game. So, like, we stopped playing ranked, because me and Dervar were playing ranked for a while. And it was just like, I think us losing was getting to him. I don't care, but it was more so like, damn it, like, even if we lose, I'm gonna firebomb all their fucking shit and make their victory so painful. So, it's whatever. I wonder if Company Heroes 3 is competitive is now.
Probably
that was dramatic. No, I remember you getting so fucking boiled. You were so mad, and I just didn't care. I was just like, I don't give a fuck if we lose. We did the best we could with what we had. They just... What?
I was annoyed. I wasn't annoyed at losing. I was annoyed at the fact that the game screwed us.
Well, how did it screw us those times before we leave real fast? I'm curious.
Well,
I don't remember.
Your tanks got stuck on this tiny little rut that it shouldn't have got stuck on, and I couldn't just hold off both the enemy players but on my own.
Oh, so you got overwhelmed.
Yeah, your population got tanked because your tanks couldn't move because they were stuck.
Yep, pathfinding is a hell of a drug. But it's like, no, it's one of those things where it's just kind of like, I don't know, but it's one of those things where I just enjoy the fight. Company Heroes. I don't know what it is, but it's just like, even if I'm losing Company Heroes 3 or 2, 2 is like, I love playing those Russians. The Russians and the, God damn it, the American. Actually, no, it was the British. But like, and then the Company Heroes 1, it's just the British all day. I fucking love the British Company Heroes 1. They're amazing. But yeah, no, so like, legitimately, Company Heroes 3, competitive sometime, right there?
No.
Oh god, no! Like legitimately, that game was so much fun. Like I mean, like, okay, so the campaign was terrible, but the multiplayer, like, it was just beautiful. It was just so fun to play, even if you were losing. But it's whatever.
Am I the only one who actually enjoyed the campaign on Company Heroes 3.
I hated it.
Obviously.
Was I the only one that hated it? Like, really? Hold on. Everyone here has to have Company Heroes 3. Please tell me that I was the. Please don't tell me I was the only one that hated Company Heroes 3's campaign. People, tell me, vote right now. Like, did everyone really? I just didn't like it for some reason. Company Heroes 3's campaign. Wow, I'm a minority. I'm gonna cry.
Oh, there's Scully agrees with you.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like it. Comparing it to Total War and other campaigns, it just didn't.
Yeah.
Damn
Love
it.
the campaign.
It just didn't feel right. It just felt kind of like slapped on, in my opinion. But it was still like, I don't know. I love Company Heroes 2 and 1. I just didn't like Company Heroes 3's too much. Like, if I had to go and choose to play right now, I would choose Company Heroes 1 for its, like, just flat out. Just Company Heroes 1, best game. And then I'd play Company Heroes 2 for its competitive, if I had to play competitive, and I just wouldn't play Company Heroes 3. But that's my opinion, because you figure, I just love Company Heroes 1. I just think nothing's ever, like, it's just, I don't know, it's just not the same. Company Heroes 1 is just a masterpiece.
Company Heroes 1 was really good, yeah.
I mean, like, it's just a masterpiece. Like, it's just like and then the Americans, how they play in that game is just so much more superior than 2 and 3, in my opinion. And it's like, I just like how they played.
Can we add Spartan 2s to Cepheus Protocol?
You can add that in modding, because I don't feel like getting sued.
Rocking up to a fucking infected zone, just dressed in Spartan 2 armor.
What's the cool part is basically just like when we get to the point of adding modding, like people could just like change out whatever to like the Flood versus the UNSC as like CERC. So like that's what I'm really anxious for, is being able to get to the point where everything's solidified like that. So then that way we can just kind of have like a total conversion model. People redo the balances, reskin all the guns, put that up there. And then basically now you have it to where like, someone's like, you're playing as them and they ported over all the models or whatever they do, to basically like play as like the Marines and the ODST and all the other fun stuff. That's Pandora. That's not Halo. No. I'm not doing a Halo conversion mod, but I'm sure someone will. I'm just saying out loud, we need to be able to give the tools to people so they can properly. And then basically just boom, like, that way they can make a mod and just kind of have fun with the game. Homeworld? I've never played Homeworld.
I love Homeworld. It's such a good game.
I've never played it. Like, there's only like, is Homeworld is that a strategy game or what is that exactly?
Oh shit, yeah. Homeworld was well ahead of its time. Yeah, it's a strategy game.
See,
Minecraft conversion mod, yes. I will fucking pay any amount of money for that shit.
I've never actually, like, I think I've played like practically all of the RTS games besides Homeworld. It's like really, like, I think Homeworld is considered an obscure game, or is that considered like a niche? Like, is that a niche game, or is that like that's not like a major like game, is it? What'd you say? Like, it seems kind of niche, because like you figure I played Sins of a Solar Empire, Stellaris, like all the Command and Conquerors, all the Empires, like
You
like.
haven't experienced. So I will say you haven't experienced like a proper space game until you've tried at least Homeworld.
How does it compare to Sins of a Solar Empire or Stellaris?
Well, Stellaris is its own little unique sort of thing.
Is there more of an
But,
emphasis on ships instead of like?
Yes.
Oh, so it's basically the Stellaris is more generic. It's like you do some augmentations to your ship, but 90% of the game is economy, diplomacy, all that stuff. 10% is the combat, and that's generally just rock paper scissors. Like DP, which one's gonna win? So in Homeworld, it's more of like you have more control over how ships battle, I guess. Is what you're saying, or what?
Yeah, it's more of an emphasis on just shit. Ship
Like Emperor, so Empire at War with the space battles, like that, basically.
Pretty much, you do have to harvest resources to build ships, but it's very minute.
Oh,
What the fuck is that?
I don't know.
Oh dear God, that is disturbing.
It needs to be killed with fire. The holy embraces of the baptism of fire.
Oh my God. We need.
Or Dawn of War. I think I've played every other. Yeah, I think Homeworld might be on that list of like the very few RTS games I've never ever played. I think I've played practically every RTS game. Well, I mean, you can't say everyone because there's a bunch of new indie ones too. I haven't played Hearts of Iron.
Falling Frontier is definitely a game that's got a lot of hype to it.
You have,
played it for 2 years.
do you have Call to Arms, Dervar?
Yeah, shit, yeah. That's how I got into Call to Arms Lost Run.
Do you think there's any reference if you wanted to play that game? Have you learned from it? Oh. Okay, I'll just go cry. Do you hate it? You hate Call to Arms?
Hate Call to Arms, love Call to... What the fuck is that terminal?
What is that?
I'm gonna throw up.
That is
Like,
disgusting. Oh God, I gotta look away.
Oh.
Bloop, bloop, bloop. Now it's gone. But anyway, wait. So I don't know. I want to play more RTS games because I can figure before we do.
I'm gonna throw up at that. Oh God, hang on.
See what you fucking did, Terminal? He went to the bathroom right now. That just makes me itch. It doesn't make me want to throw up. I have like an iron lung when it comes to that. I have seen some of the most disgusting concepts for Cepheus Protocol to the point where that doesn't surprise me. Like when we were in the conceptualization stages of like concepting stuff for Cepheus, it was like some bad like that all over the place. Googly glue. Oh my God! Don't post it again, you troll. I'm gonna delete it. Don't post that, okay? You're gonna make people throw up. But like, legitimately, yeah, no, like we had some really disgusting stuff that basically we had to like tone down because we didn't want people to throw up. Like the gas towers were a lot more disgusting, a lot more like gore porn, whatever they are, and then we had like infected traps or whatever. We're gonna have to come back to those in the future of like spike traps and stuff. Where we had like infection growth that would like grow on the fucking buildings when an area became biocontaminated. That's something we also gotta like figure out how to do going into 5.3 and 5.4 of the engine. Is they improve their procedural generation tool so you don't have to pre-place it into the level. And you can basically just give it like rules, and it will just dynamically grow supposedly. So, yeah, legitimately, it was one of those things where it was just kind of like that's something cool. We also have to look into tech-wise and figure out when we can squeeze that in there, because then we can have biomass. Nothing to that level, holy shit, but like biomass that basically was like Stranger Things that would like grow on the buildings. There's some really, really early screenshots you can find of it in the announcements. That basically is what it was. Finale is that basically it was like Zerg creep, but you had to like burn it, and it would be regionalized to like zones that would close off section. You know what? Actually, I could just find the concept. Let me just grab that. This is more of like a wish list thing for me. It's more like something I want to do when like the engine like. I would probably say like you know like whenever things calm down, this is when we find the time. We have all the concepts. Let me find some and I'll share some with you folks.
See, I will say this, right?
Yeah.
I don't have a weak stomach. It's just when that popped up, I was eating.
He posted it again and I deleted it. Someone else posted it again and I was like, no, I don't want to see it. I have an iron lung, it doesn't affect me, but I'm sure it's affecting other people. Like, it's like, and I'm about to eat anyway, so I'm just like, I don't want to have that in my rear window like memory in terms of like, oh god, where's the bathroom? Hold on. I'm just looking for this concept real fast.
Oh, the mantis from Halo. That would be cool if we added them in. I remember we used to tease you a lot, Robert, about adding mechs. We used to tease the shit out of you about adding mechs into the game.
Every fucking day they would come into the room and they would be like,
every day.
we're adding mechs. We need to add mechs. We need to have Gundams in the game. And every day I would tell them where to stick it.
Every day we'd send a new meme like this.
It was so much fun.
Every single day it would be.
So something along the lines of something like that is what we had gotten concepted up.
Don't bully him to add mechs into the game. We do that enough as it is. At least I do.
So the idea would be is that you would have to burn them out in hives or groups. So it'd be like a small little like sub-objective where you basically would have to like find the pods, find these central like mini ones and burn it out to completely eradicate our zone, basically. But yeah, just one of those things where it's like, if some of you were here probably like, let me think, a year and a half ago, we tested out in adding like infection pods that would grow in the marshlands and in Treasure Island, but then we were blowing up people's computers because of the sheer amount of assets that we were creating dynamically to where we had to remove them. So we have all the assets and they're made and they're really, really gorgeous. But it's one of those things where it's like we're waiting for the tech to catch up. We're waiting for new ways to basically like procedurally build on structures and kind of make it maintainable for the scale of the world. So it's just one of those things where we've had to kind of like earmark that as something of like, okay, we have the assets, we have the mostly good code for like spreading. Let me see if I can find it actually. Hold on. Give me a second. I found it. So this was basically it in a nutshell. I'll post it in channel. Hold on. So it's like basically that. Where it was like, you see how like it's consuming the taxi? Because those are our assets, and we made those, and it was just more so we need to figure out a way of being able to spread that over a very large area and still maintain a good acceptable frame rate. Let me post that in YouTube for those that are still there. I wonder if I can post pictures on the YouTube. Oh, I can. So there's direct links for the people that are on YouTube. And that's the general idea, was to basically do something along those lines. See, because we were playing State of Decay, and we were playing the DLC one where you like kind of have like that side map, and we were like, our infection needs a lot of work, because you figure like, look how it grows, look how it spreads. Like we have a lot to learn in terms of basically like kind of filling in the immersion of the level. So we got the assets made, but now we're just kind of waiting. We're hopeful that PSD, the procedural generation thing in 5.3, or technically part of 5.2, will solve the issue. Again, it's one of those things where we're just gonna kind of, it's gonna be the window, it's gonna be the icing on the cake in terms of basically like when everything just kind of comes together you know, you'll have this organic biomass that just kind of spreads to a percent degree. Because I don't know if we're going to be, I don't think we're going to be able to infect the entire map, like 100% from a performance standpoint, because they're all additive assets that aren't pre-baked. So unless my visual technical artist can kind of figure out some magical way of making that cost low, it's just one of those things we have to kind of be conscious of. Oh yeah, State of Decay 2. I mean, me and Durvar and Chris and a lot of them, we Michael, we all play that sometimes. We just make a hardcore community, and we just go at it. That game is fun. In terms of basically,
I've actually got I've got a hardcore community full of fucking Red Talon operatives in a on the hardest difficulty.
Oh,
so I'm dealing with like blood plague freaks and blood plague.
I remember the day. Remember the day that I got all of Chris's like 3-year-old plus characters killed.
Yeah, I do remember that.
He never wanted to play State of Decay 2 ever again. Because I'm the kid that's just like, okay, we're going out on these raids, we're gonna hit these points, we're gonna get all this stuff. Like, I play like Call of Duty, where it's just like, when I play State of Decay, like, we're going out onto the teeth, we're gonna hit these points, we're gonna take out these plague hearts, like, we're going to town, like, it's gonna be like an OK Corral. And Chris kept getting stuck in doorways and mauled to death. He lost characters that were years old. Like years. Like he had no one left.
Believe it or not, I actually still have my day one characters.
I don't.
My day one State of Decay characters when the game released.
Oh. Yeah, no, I don't think I have any of it. No, I don't know actually. I might. I think I might actually. There's a couple. Because my characters don't die that often. I tend to just kind of run them down barren, because I like to play as one character for way too long. Because that was the one thing I hated about State of Decay, is I like to play one character. So having to switch around constantly was just so frustrating to me, because I was like, I just want to play that one. I don't want to have to go to sleep and do all this. I just want to play that one character. So then I like would put all into like 1 or 2 or 3 characters, and everyone else was just stuck. So it was just kind of... Oh yeah, I know. There's a lot of games I got to try again. Well, again, I'm making a list because, like, you figure once things again, like, we get to the point of co-op and we take the hiatus, we do that, and then we basically we officially start the campaign. Like, I'm gonna be doing a lot of like, cause this is so fucking bad to admit to this, but I never bought Legacy of the Void. It was the only StarCraft expansion in history that I never bought. So it's like one of those things where I need to go back and play it. Just for fun. Oh. I feel better now. But you figure it's one of those things where it's like, I fucking Wings of Liberty, Heart of the Swarm, beautiful, gorgeous games. Like, they're so goddamn fun. And then Legacy of the Void came out, and I was just like, I'm just not interested for some reason. Then again, I never really liked the Protoss. I was one of those kids that just never played as the Protoss unless I was forced to. So
yeah, I'm not a fan of the Protoss either. I hate them.
Yeah, but I mean, don't get me wrong. I play them. I can play them. I know how they functionally work, but I just don't like them for some reason. So like, it was just one of those things where it was just kind of like, I like Kerrigan. I like Raider. I want to know what happened, but I wasn't interested enough to play as a Protoss for 6 hours. That I was like, maybe I'll just watch it on YouTube. So it's one of those things where I have to go back and I have to play that and just play some other campaign games when we start our campaign, just to get some ideas and just see what new things are out there or whatever. Because I want our campaign to be very unique and different. Chad Battlecruiser. Jesus Christ. I don't know. Anything else you want to casually talk about, Durvar, before we run away?
No, I don't have anything, no.
Durvar is just like, we gotta go. We gotta play video games.
I've got StarCraft open and ready to go.
Oh no. Okay, well, All right, so we're gonna run away. Thank you guys so much for coming. You guys are super chill. We love our community. Thank you guys for your honesty and been taking the time to basically sit down with us, go over the game, voice your concerns. You know, tell us what you like, tell us what you hate. Um, and as always, like, you guys are great. Bye, everyone.